In this bonus episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about the Great British Bake Off. Heights, flaws becoming strengths, examining the romance genre, how we never discount the grandmas, book hugs, taking adaptations literally, and a YA space opera in our chat with Gail Carriger. Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult books, series, authors, and voice actors that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire. And today we're going to talk to Gail Carriger. Let's just do this! Yes!
Claire, is it time?
It is time! It is time!
It's time.
Chicken explosion. Pastry explosion.
Yes. It's time for Would You Rather, and Would You Rather is extra special today because we are joined once again after many, many, many months by Miss Gail Carriger. Yay!
Woo!
Hello, hello! Glad to be back.
It's been so long.
So excited.
It has been.
So excited.
Yes, it might even have been a year or two.
I
been a
know.
while.
Yeah.
Too long. Too long.
More than a year because I've been in Arkansas for more than a year now, and I was still in Seattle the last time we talked, I think. So
Yeah, I think so.
That is so weird.
so weird.
Wow.
So weird. But it's great to have you back. Thank you for always humoring us.
Of course, delighted. Delighted. Absolutely.
All right. Claire, you want to ask our first question?
Yes, we asked this on social media, so we have some lovely comments to read because people have really stepped up the game this week. Would you rather protect yourself with exploding pastries or an exploding wicker chicken? On Facebook, it was a straight up 50-50. They could not decide. On Instagram, wicker chicken won out with 75%. On Twitter, wicker chicken won just slightly with 58%. And on TikTok, the pastries are exploding with 58%. And we have some superfans and some regular commenters. So Bree on Facebook says, always the menacing wicker chicken. And I'm sure Bree, superfan Bree, was brought to the Fictional Hangover because of your books as well.
I think that is true. Vincent on Facebook said, stale pastries are dangerous enough without adding explosives to them. Just ask my mate who got a black eye when a seagull dropped a stale pie on him.
What if it was a cheese pie?
Was it a
Seagulls
cheese
are
pie?
It was an eel pie, probably.
Oh.
Colin on Facebook said, I'd have to go with the wicker chicken. If I started messing around with pastries, I'd be all like, ooh, this looks tasty, let's eat this bad lad. Forgetting I'd stuffed it with gunpowder, and then I'd be all, oh dear, explosive indigestion. Then I'd probably just shit myself. At least with the chicken, I'm not likely to try and eat it. Oh,
Oh my.
it's been a long day.
Constance on Facebook said, as a professional pastry chef, it has to be with pastries. I'd be whipping them up as fast as I deploy them.
Nice.
Very good.
Drew
I want
on
to be her friend.
Facebook-
Yes. She makes some good pastries
Drew
too.
on- Oh, she really does. We get pictures. It's lovely. I will try them one day. And Drew, I will do Drew's on Facebook because it's possibly the most excessively British answer we've had, which is explosive Greggs is the way to go. And if you don't know what a Greggs is, you're missing out.
I don't know what a Greggs is.
I do.
It's pastry
Oh,
bakery. It's a high street style bakery.
okay.
It's a kind of a calf concept, but for sort of ready-made pastries. It's a thing. It's a British thing.
It's excessively British.
Excessively British, yeah.
I'll take pictures and send you, and you'll be like, oh,
Okay. I'm excited for this.
they're everywhere.
Do we need to read a couple more? Do we need to read
You need to
Dragon
read
Heart,
Annie's because
we
Annie's a
do.
super fan.
Yes, but I want to read Dragonheart9955 on Instagram. He's becoming a new super fan. Definitely Pastries takes the phrase food fight to a whole nother level.
And Annie on Facebook again was brought to us by Miss Gail.
Yay!
Who doesn't want a wicked chicken? Exactly, Annie.
Everybody's got to want the wicker chicken. And I feel like we have to read L20 Kev, because we always read L20 Kev. He says, chicken, in my family, that pastry isn't going to last long enough for me to insert the explosives. I'll literally buy the pastry, put it down on the kitchen countertop, go to get the explosives from the explosive drawer, and I'll look back and it'll have been eaten. Also, a safety tip, if you have a toddler, remember to put the child latch on your explosives drawer.
I have L20 Kev. Don't worry about that. One of my favourite comments was actually on Twitter. It was at epi_onic. And it's, life is short. Weaponize desserts first.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good quote.
Yeah. Sounds like something I would say.
All right, so what's your answer, Miss Gail?
Oh, it's an easy one for me. It's pastry. And I approached it in a very logical way, which is if it's going to explode, the pastry will be tastier to clean up than the wicker chicken. The wicker chicken seems, more wooden and uninteresting, and I'm always gonna go with something tasty in the end.
Nice.
I find pastries will probably be easier to deploy as well, because there will be a lighter, smaller, easier to throw, whilst the wicker chicken you'd have to quite strategically place.
Yes. Agreed.
Madame Spatoona did sacrifice herself blowing up the wicker chicken.
I feel like the wicker chicken sacrifices aside, would be a good weapon to use because, when it explodes, that's splinters and shrapnel that you can hurt more people with. You could maybe kill a couple of vampires.
Have you ever taken a glacier cherry to the eye?
No, I haven't.
Yes, don't discount the strategically placed sesame seeds at high velocity.
Flaked almonds. Oh my gosh.
Oh, just shards of nuts.
And what happens if you're using an explosive pastry and they have a nut allergy?
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's double danger.
I
mean, don't get me wrong. I think you're right, Amanda. Wicked chicken is classic and it's iconic.
Yeah.
One of us. On the other hand, some pastry can get to wicker levels bad depending on who's making it. So...
Oh no. I really just feel like one of us had to choose wicker chicken. So it's me. I'm sacrificing myself.
To be fair,
thank you. Your sacrifice is noted.
If we weren't talking explosives, just wicker chicken, I would pick her because very effective as a general rule.
Yes.
So probably your best option on deployment to get the job done, whatever that job might be. But talking purely explosives, yes, I come down on pastry for taste reasons.
And that's perfectly reasonable.
Ooh, creme pat.
Oh.
I've been watching Bake Off. I'm creme pat crazy at the moment.
They did do Custard Week. It was very exciting. Don't spoil anything. I haven't watched today's, but they did. It's up and down with me this season because Mexican Week wasn't as bad as the brownie incident, but it was almost there. And there was a lot of screaming at the television in my California-based household where we take Mexican food extremely seriously. And I'm sorry, Claire, your people know nothing. Don't even try.
No, trust me. I'm embarrassed on behalf of my entire nation about Mexican Week. I do cook Mexican, but it's in air quotes Mexican, I have the Mexican cookbooks and I follow them, but yeah, I was embarrassed, and especially sorry Amanda, Carol that week was just shameful. It was embarrassing, it was terrible, but I will say this week Yanush has something that happens.
Oh no. Yeah, I will. The Mexican week we were seriously discussing whether a pinata of Paul Hollywood was a possibility
Oh,
for
if
Halloween, because
only,
we were like,
if
we
only.
got to take it out on something, because yeah, it was upsetting. But like I said, we thought it might be as bad as the brownies, but it wasn't as bad as the brownies, so it was all good.
No, this week is good, but something happens to one person's, and it's like,
Oh my
it's
God,
hilarious.
is it an Ian and the Baked Alaska incident?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
But so it's in the technical challenge,
Okay,
and then
all right.
afterwards you'll go,
Ooh. Okay. Oh, I'm excited.
and then you'll go onto his Twitter, and then you'll see what his public statement is about it.
Oh,
That's all I'm saying.
My goodness. Okay. All right.
It's not. It's being made
I'm
more
ready.
scandalous because of politics than anything. Right. Okay. Sorry. Let's get back. Sorry, Amanda.
This has been Bake Off Corner with Gail and Claire. Well, now we're turning into a regularly scheduled podcast. No, me neither. It's very exciting.
Okay. After the Great British Bake Off segment, we're back to Would You Rather. Would you rather be bamboozled by Agatha or Mademoiselle Geraldine?
I pick Agatha just because I think Mademoiselle Geraldine, I could probably sort of figure out that it was happening, but with Agatha you just never know. Like, she really is so very subtle that I wouldn't feel silly if she'd gotten away with something, because she always does.
Is she behind that plant in your office, by the way? Is she currently hiding out there?
It's entirely possible. I don't know, because I would not notice her if she were.
Oh, it's so fun. I'm agreeing again. Bamboozled by Agatha, because especially if you're Sophronia, the fact that your friend has managed to do that for at least the past 2, close to 3 years, really, and she's just performed so well that you haven't picked up on it. It's more feel you that you didn't realise that Mademoiselle Geraldine is playing tricks on you.
She was really good,
but
though.
Agatha, she really was. But also, come on, the only person in the entirety of the school who doesn't realise that the secret is espionage. Really?
Also,
really?
you know, it's a young adult book. You never trust the adults. That's the rule in a young adult book.
True. And I do remember the first time reading that going, Agatha?
No, see, the first time I read it, I went, Mademoiselle Geraldine? Really? So.
What's your answer, Amanda?
Mademoiselle Geraldine. Really?
Okay.
Yay!
Okay.
I have to pick her. I have to.
Okay. Next question. Would you rather go to the dinner party and theatrical production at Lord Akeldama's, or go to the New Year's Eve tea party with the Bunsen boys?
This is very hard, for me at least, because if I were Sophronia's age, or the age of the characters in the book, then definitely the Bunsen boys. But at my age, I'd rather go hang out at Lord Akeldama's. So it really depends on what life state I'm in. But at this particular life state, it'll be Lord Akeldama's, because yeah, of course. Who doesn't want to hang out with Lord Akeldama? Really?
Yeah, there's no other answer to this question. You have to want to hang out with Lord Akeldama. He's the best.
Yes, but the Bunsen boys are really hot. So, if I were 14, that's where I'd want to go. Of course.
But in traditional form, Fictional Hangover, we are always going to pick vampires.
Of course. We have to. We have to choose vampires, even though boys with eyeliner is a good look. It's a good look.
Nothing wrong with that.
You cannot tell me that none of Lord Akeldama's drones do not have eyeliner.
Oh, I'm sure there's eyeliner. I'm sure there's plenty of eyeliner.
Their fleek will be perfection.
Yes. Oh, yes. I'm sure there's one drone who does nothing but specialize in the application of eyeliner.
Oh.
We all have our talents, and mine is the fleek.
Oh, yes, he can do tiny mustaches. I mean, I'm sure he's very versatile.
I love it. I just want to be there. All right. Would you rather hunt the Pickleman with Mademoiselle Geraldine or Professor Braithwaite?
This is actually a very difficult question because, like you, I tend to lean in favor of vampires, but Professor Braithwaite is a little crazy. So, but I think I would still pick Professor Braithwaite, just for the risk factor of it all, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he's stronger. So I think he would be more helpful. Well, Mademoiselle
But he
Geraldine is
might
very
turn on
crafty.
you. That's the problem.
True.
He
That's
is stronger.
true.
You look tasty.
But,
I'm going Mademoiselle Geraldine. I think she'd be a hoot, and you would learn a lot because
Also.
you wouldn't be able to copy Professor Braithwaite.
True,
But you would be able to emulate Mademoiselle Geraldine.
Very true.
And
You make a
finally,
very
to
good-
see her in action.
Also true.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with my vampire though. Like you said, all vampires all the time. Gotta do it.
It's true. It's true. Why can't we ever do option C?
Both.
Both.
No.
All
Not
of
after
the
last
above.
week. No more. No more option C. Not after last week. Last question. Would you rather blow up a dirigible or crash a dirigible?
Definitely crash. On board and everything. That whole sequence was written because I would have liked to have experienced that. Like, I genuinely have a little bit of an over fascination with being very high up, which might explain my career actually. But and part of that is actually falling out of the sky. This has always been weirdly appealing to me. And yeah, and if I wrote it and it were happening, then everybody would be all right in the end. So that's what I want. I want to crash it.
Have you ever been skydiving though?
No, but I totally would. I've been into those indoor skydiving thingamajiggers, and I would unequivocally jump out of any kind of high moving object, if so long as there was a slim chance of survival, because I love it. I love the sensation of falling. I love the idea of flying. Yes, so I have no fear of heights whatsoever.
It's a perfectly good plane though. Why are you jumping out
I
of
just
it?
think it's so much fun. Why would you not want to jump out of a thing? This seems very exciting to me. I'm totally one of those people. I will go, I will paraglide. I'll do all the things. I've been up in hot air balloons. Like I used to be a, veteran tree climber as a child. Like, where is she? Up a tree usually. Where's the look up? Onto roofs, all that sort of thing. I like heights. So yeah, I wanna crash it.
No.
No. Oh yeah.
No, I'm staying on the ground. I will be Mademoiselle Geraldine in this case. Oh no, I'll stay aboard. I don't like heights. Here I am. It's fine. Everyone enjoy your tea. Don't worry. So I
Have
guess
a little picnic and watch it fall.
Yes, yeah. So no, I do not. No. So I guess I don't know if I want to do either one. Can I choose option C here and none of the above? Can I just peacefully float quietly inside somewhere, not near any windows or railings?
Knowing your fear of heights, Amanda, are you actually getting on the dirigible in the first place?
You have to just explode it from the ground. That is the option.
Yeah. Are
you getting a rocket launcher?
No, I'll have the crossbow, and I'll aim it.
Very well.
Yes, very, very well. So I guess that's... Oh, no. Is that going to make me a werewolf then? Because I can't float? Am I going to have to be a werewolf instead of a vampire this time?
You might.
Yes.
Can I hang out with soap?
Yeah.
Done.
That was an easy sell.
That's the end. That's the end of that. Soap. That's all I need.
Okay.
God, I love it.
Us.
I know.
I'm gonna put my pastries to good use and blow that ship up, and then woo out.
So
No.
it's just me riding
Charlie's
down the
Angel
crash.
style.
All right.
Oh.
That's cool.
Oh, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. No. Ugh.
Like the world's
Heights
most
doesn't bother
exciting
me, but-
roller coaster. Whee!
Oh,
No.
no, thank you. I'm gonna hang out with a sexy werewolf on the ground. I'm good.
I'm going to go dancing with Professor Braithwaite, and as we do it, like as the music goes, it's going to be like throw pastry.
Yes, very good. Explosions in the background, very artistic.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, very artistic. As we dance.
I love it. I love it. To dance to explosions, and then you like lean over and bite a guy and throw him over the edge. Toss that guy over too. This one's dangle it from underneath. Perfect.
That's a takeaway snack.
Yeah, save him for later.
We'll just save that one for later.
Yeah. Oh wow. Well, I feel like that was a really quick Would You Rather.
We're very
sped right
decisive
through it.
this week.
Yes, we are. I mean, to be fair, we have read these books a million times, so we know everything. We've already got it figured out. We don't even have to think about it.
That's true. That's why coming up with a surprise was so difficult, because it's like,
Yeah. I've read these so many times, I can't pick a surprise. I'm not surprised by anything anymore. Oh man. All right, so let's move on to our non-Would You Rather questions. Which lesson would you teach if you were a teacher at Mademoiselle Geraldine's?
So I said expectations and manipulation, alternate realities, and herding cats, because I feel like that's what an author does. That's what you specialize in. So yes, so that would be my lesson in spying form, of course. But
I love it.
herding
Cats. That's the most difficult thing to do. Like,
it
as a
is,
rule.
it is very difficult, but I'm pretty good at it, actually. So yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
that's very good.
I think you would teach, like, disguising Amanda.
Yeah.
You'd have to do disguises.
Yeah, I would have to do disguises. Definitely. What would you do, Claire?
Probably work in the brain. I don't feel like I have specialised espionage skills.
Well, surely there's you can do household maintenance.
Oh God, you've seen my house? I'll teach everybody to read.
Oh.
I'll be the boiler room teacher.
Oh. That just means you get to hang out with Soap. Well, I mean, he's gone now.
Oh.
He's gone being a sexy
Well, for a
werewolf
little
on the
while.
ground, but for a little while.
Hey, I get smoky bones though.
You do get Smoky Bones and the rest of the cities. They're pretty good.
Exactly. We're going to educate the cities, and then I can be the angel of pastries.
You could be, as long as you don't take them exploding pastries.
Of course not. No. They can get the ones I don't like.
Oh. Do you want to ask another question, Claire?
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I was like about the some of our super fans when we've had these type of conversations. Like, what would they teach? And then Constance would have to be the one who teaches everybody how to make explosive pastries. Sure. Annie would be the poisons expert because of her gardening.
Yes.
If we're in modern times, Drew would do like internet manipulation, and she'd be the one in the background. She'd be the person behind the computer.
The hacker.
Definitely.
Well,
Bree does sign language,
since
so
she could be our interpreter. She could do like
teach us how to do
secret
different
communications.
Languages. Definitely fan and napkin and random tea leaves.
Yes, that's Bree's job.
Scone crumbs.
Yes,
that's great. Yeah. Right? Okay, I'm just giving everybody their assignment. That's fine.
Good.
So, which teacher? Not us, obviously, because we would be your favourites. But which teacher was your favourite with their ending or what they did in the future? So, their
This was a rough run, you two, because I don't remember what future I gave to most of the teachers, because you might reread these all the time, but I don't, and I wrote these books almost 10 years ago at this point. So I think it's Sister Maddie. One of them like retires to the countryside quite happily and just sort of like lives out her life growing poisons and having a garden and having a good old time. And I think it's Sister Maddie who I gave that ending to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I picked.
So Mademoiselle adopts Handel and emigrates to America, where he becomes a physician.
Yes.
Lady Lynette opens an acting school in London.
Yes.
Sister Maddie sets up a shop at a seaside resort.
Yes.
With plants.
That's
Viev.
me.
we all know Viev.
We all know
We all
Viev.
know what
Professor
happened. We all know what
Yeah.
happened to some of the others. Yes, I do remember
Exactly.
the characters that I then write more of.
Yeah.
But yes, so Sister
Or
Maddie is my pick.
you could be Professor Braithwaite,
A
who's
mad
rumoured
hermit
to be
on the moors. That's
hermit
not a
of
bad
Dartmoor.
choice, really, actually. That's sort of appealing, but really I just want to relax and fart around in a seaside town in my old age. That seems like the best of all possible worlds. So,
If she isn't at Brighton, I'm going to be very upset.
well, it's me, so of course I put her on the Cornish coast somewhere in my brain, but it's wherever you want her to be.
She's in Paynton. Nice.
Okay, so since we do many rereads.
You didn't pick your teacher.
Oh, I'm going to be a crazy hermit with Professor Braithwaite because that just sounds right up my alley. Jumping out, frightening people, being disheveled. Yeah, that's what I'm
Spooky
gonna do.
legend.
Yes. I will be like some weird swamp hag that everyone is afraid of.
Great. I like it. The Heather Hag or something.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So sorry. I interrupted. Please go on. What is this question that is going to out me as a terrible author who doesn't remember what she writes?
Yes, precisely. This question. We really just thought that you were already clearly planning Delightfully Deadly while you were writing these. Is this true?
No, but I'm delighted that you think I'm that clever. I mean, I never rule out spinning off. That's why I always drop so many little threads in a lot of my stuff. And in some cases, I definitely do have the idea. So like, for example, with the Parasol Protectorate series, I did always have the idea of writing Prudence's books. So like from Solace on. And with the Delightfully Deadly books, I was always like, well, it would be fun to write about lady spies in latter periods, and it would be absolutely fun to put them kind of in the background mucking about with the other characters, which I did. But I didn't really know or plan which characters I might give them to. So yeah, so I'm delighted that it looks like I did that because they were so much work to fit sort of seamlessly retrospectively backwards and retcon, especially Ambassador Door. Ambassador Door is probably Ambassador Door and Reticence were probably two of the hardest books I ever had to write, because at that juncture I had over 20 books in the universe that I needed to make sure I didn't interfere with the chronology of. Thank goodness I have like 4 of the world's greatest beta readers who pretty much reread most of my books every year, so they like try to stay on top of everything so they're ready. And they always reread earlier stuff in the series, and I'll give them a prep list of the books that like of what I'm going to be writing, so they know what they need to read in order to prepare for it. Because they always catch me out on a temporal or chronological error, or what's the word I am looking for? Alt reality conflict, like an in-world consistency error is what they kind of track me for, and they always catch something. But yeah, those two books
do very well.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they do a good job. I made mistakes in some of the traditionally published stuff because I didn't have them yet. But now that with the indie stuff, they usually catch it. So I don't think I've made any gross errors since then. But yeah, so I'm delighted. It looks like I intended it. I did not intend it. And as a result, Ambush or Door was really difficult to write. And it's one of the reasons I've thought about writing Sid Haig's book, but she's so much in so much of all of the other books. So she shows up in this series. She and Madame LeFou like pretty much are in all of the series, and therefore she's particularly hard to write because there's so much chronology check to do on her. So that's one of the reasons I've dragged my feet with her. The other one is I haven't had the epiphany for that book yet. I don't ever start writing something until I have like this like moment of clarity where I see the main characters talking to each other, and that doesn't happen for her. But yeah, so
that really astounds me, because when we read Agatha's books, when we read Ambush or Adore, we were like, oh my god, do you remember this? Oh my god, do you remember that? And then as we've been rereading the series, we're like, oh, this is linked. Like when they're at the party and Sophronia has to be Agatha and she hides behind next to a fern. And I was like, oh my god, it's the plant. It's the plant we were obsessed with that Agatha hides behind. And she's got to have known. It's got to have been on purpose. It has to have been on purpose. So my mind is absolutely blown right now.
Thank you. Yeah, so one of the things I can do, because I wrote the darn stuff, is I have all of the docs, right? So I can go back, and whenever I'm writing a Delightfully Deadly book, I do a name search on that character. So I go back and reread all of the passages that character showed up in. So it was really easy with a character like Prussia, who doesn't show up that often. She has very sort of key little moments where she shows up in the Finishing School books. And it was a lot harder with a character like Agatha, who's kind of in and out of everything. A little bit easier with Pilliver, who again only shows up at sort of key moments. So when I go back and I do this little search, and sometimes I'll like just lift all of those passages out and rewrite them from that character's perspective. So I'll have these little sort of vignettes that are the same thing you've already read in the Finishing School series, but rewritten with what Agatha would have been seeing. So there's an incident where Sophronia is having a discussion and Agatha is spying on her, and we'll kind of find this out later, but I kind of rewrote that from Agatha's scenes to sort of understand what she would have heard and what she would have learned and how she would have processed it. So I do that kind of thing. And that, of course, because it's playing on content that already exists and is copywritten for traditional, I don't do anything with those little passages, but I have them all socked away. And that's how those little nuggets get reconnected. So that's you're perceptive. You're picking up on kind of that little background knitting that's being done. But yes,
it's like in the first couple of books, the way that they mentioned about Dimity being sparkles. Like one of the first things Sophronia mentions about Dimity is the sparkles, and I went, well, and Defy or Defend, that's her code name, and I am floored right now that
and it's also the thing that Crispin likes the most about her is this sort of sparkliness of her, right? And so yeah, I mean that's just me having fun, right? That's me playing as an author, is to just be like, here's this thread about this character that when it's first spotted in her, it's kind of a character trait to indicate her garishness and how ill she fits into this world and how she's not kind of meant to be here. And then she owns this flaw of hers, or this perceived flaw, and it becomes her code name. And then the man she ends up with, that's the thing he admires about her the most. So what's introduced initially as something perhaps a little negative about her eventually becomes, through the course of 3 series or 30 odd years, the strength and the thing that she's loved for. That's something I play on a lot. I think I would call that kind of one of my themes, is that the things we think are our own flaws or chips, or the broken bits of ourselves, are actually the things that can become our strengths, and that other people and the people we love admire the most about us. So I revisit that a lot.
Oh, definitely. I'm speechless. Amanda, take over.
Well, I was just thinking back, Claire, we talked about Ambush or Adore on the show, but we, for some reason, did not invite Miss Gail that time. And I feel like, look, I just need to say that one actually made me feel an emotion. Like there was almost like a tear with that one, and that doesn't happen with me
that's
ever.
the one. That's the one that people have written to me the most to say it made them cry. I mean, a couple of my other ones have also made people cry, but that's the one. It's definitely one of the most poignant of the ones I've written. And I was a little nervous when I wrote it because I do tend to lean into the silly more than anything. The people wouldn't like it, but it's a lot of people's favorites. So I'm like, okay, I guess you guys
it's
don't
a
mind
beautiful
if
story.
I get sad on occasion. Fine.
Yeah, it was so beautiful.
I think a part of that is you can see me kind of at this point in my life sort of re-examining things as well. I really wrote that to be a dialogue about having patience with love and affection and friendship, and how to maintain it over a long period of time, and also like the notion of the timing of a romance and how sometimes you have to wait, and that's okay. But also that like you can get and are worthy of love no matter what age you are, that it's okay to begin it when you're 10 and then not find it again until you're in your 50s or 60s, so or later. So that was really intentional. A lot of the novellas for me are me kind of examining some of the, not so much flaws now, but maybe flaws when I was first reading romance back in the 80s and 90s, and the ideas of like men have to be a certain way, women have to be a certain way, the romance has to be a certain way between a man and a woman, that there's no like wiggle room in terms of the sort of dominant archetypes and themes and tropes and stuff. And that, so I pick up and write each one of these novellas with not the notion of attacking a principle of the romance genre, but more examining it in a way. And so this one was this examination of a prevailing idea within romance, which again, others are also rectifying now, but this idea that you only really deserve to be loved if you are young and beautiful. And I was like, let's think about that and kind of talk about that on the page. And I know that's a lot more intellectual than people get with my stuff, but I have to be driven by some kind of concept, I think, even if it's just me in the background worrying at it.
So Pillover's such a lovely character. He's such a little teenage boy in the finishing school. Like, he's so moody and broody, and all the girls are fawning for him.
He's so frustrated by
it. We all know those kind of moody, broody boys.
Yes, we do. Emo.
But
the chattering, it never stops. The chattering.
Yeah, he is one of my favorite characters from that series. It's because he's so much
completely.
That,
so
right?
It was great to get something else about it.
We all knew that little brother of a friend of ours when we were that age. Like, we all knew that kid.
Yes. I mean, how dare he be so hot as well? But yeah, I think to be fair,
isn't it? It's like the ones who couldn't
Pillow
get the
from
guard
Percy
are the ones that like all the girls go for.
Well, that's it. Pillow from Percy kind of went, yeah, Claire, you've got to type. But that's the thing with reading Agatha and Pillover's story and Ambush and Adore is Pillover's just a gentle male character who respects the woman he loves, doesn't force her into being anything that he would desperately love to have. He'd love to have that person constantly there, but he knows if that was the case, that wouldn't be Agatha. But he's willing to wait, and that's just, you don't get those stories. It's always like insta love, and straight away it's a happily ever after of a skinny 20-year-old. And yeah, it's
just so
yes,
good.
Amanda had like 0.5 of an emotion.
I
She
did.
nearly went into double figures.
I'm so sorry.
Weird.
I'm so sorry.
It was huge.
I won't do it again.
Oh, but you can. You can. It was so pretty. Like, oh, I love it. And I love, of course, 100% love all of the silliness. Like, being ridiculous is my favorite thing. But, it was just so sweet and precious.
Well, apparently I do it one every, 30 books or so we'll be okay.
Well, Amanda is notoriously not a lover of romance, so for Amanda to love it, you know you've got it right.
It's so true.
And then they basically change the world at the end, which...
Oh, it's
Yeah,
so
they do.
good.
It's them. Yeah, that was me being extra tricky. I get to be extra tricky with the novellas because I can link other books and other things I'm working on and stuff, so they can be very tricksy.
So
But
good.
yeah, in their 70s, no less. That was so much fun to be like, whoop.
Oh.
I think everybody's got a grandma who's willing to do that.
Oh yeah. Never
Or a
discount
crazy
the
aunt.
grandmas.
Never
Never.
discount the
Never.
grandmas.
Never.
It's my favorite quote from this one. Oh.
Oh, honestly, just amazing. It's just amazing. And that's the whole thing about the entire series, is because obviously you've got the betas now that help you so much, just creating this fairly seamless universe. And it's just so satisfying as a fan and as a reader. You can literally pick up any book and it's like you're going back to old friends, because all of them just kind of like hop in every little bit. Like, that's why I think Lord Akildam is such a beloved character, because he comes and goes all the time. You know he's a constant.
Yes.
And you just want to be his kitten.
And it's fun to write. From my perspective, it's really fun to write because he is constant. And that's one of the reasons I love the vampire characters in particular, is because the flaw in them in general, and they kind of know this about themselves, is how unchanging they are. And that's the flaw with immortality too, is that they can't or don't evolve. And so Lord Akildama is Lord Akildama whenever you meet him at any point in time. He has different drones around him. He's up to different shenanigans, but essentially he remains unchanging. And so that's intentional. That obviously he's very bright and shiny and he's really fun to write, but that's intentional in terms of he's a really kind of a crutch in a way, but a really nice through line to write, because he can be almost like a museum to the whole series in a way, because he always represents what he is. He never evolves, but he also never de-evolves either. It's
Lord Akildama will always be Lord Akildama, but
exactly.
he just puts on a different fashion.
Exactly.
And he avoids the Crocs, if we've learned anything from the first little bit.
Absolutely. He maintains very strong opinions on fashion, no matter what era we are in. Very strong opinions. Yeah, but that was when I started writing this, and I realized that when I started Solus, and I realized that my publishing house was going to want me to write more, I immediately was like, oh, this is just going to be a playground. Like, I'm just going to build myself a sandbox and see where it goes and what I can do with it. So it's always intentional that I be able to do this thing where I thread. And I think the way I write, especially within the Parasolvers, is this idea that I do write kind of like book hugs. Like, I want to write comforting stuff for my readers, something that makes you feel happy and satisfied and warm when you're done with it. But I also, because I am a really big rereader, I love rereading stuff. I also wanted to make it so if you reread something older after newer stuff had come out, you'd find something in the old stuff that maybe you didn't notice because the new stuff hadn't revisited it or hadn't pointed it out. So there'll be a tiny thread that's dropped all the way back in Solus. And if you've read Ambush or Adore, and you go back and you reread the Parasol Protectorate series, which was my first series, there's going to be a couple of things that you're like, oh, which you never would have noticed if Ambush or Adore hadn't come out, 15 years later. So I try to kind of always do that. So there's always some little thread that ties back to at least an early series, if not just one of the earlier books. And that's just, I call them cookies for the careful reader, which is basically, if you are the kind of person who likes to reread, I want to reward you for going back and reading the book again somehow. And that's the best way I've figured it out.
Oh,
it is perfect. There's no other word. It's perfect.
Yes. Speaking of vampires, I can't remember if I've ever asked this, and I'm going to ask now. Countess Nadasde. Is it Elizabeth Bathory?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you. Oh my God, that's been bugging me.
I thought you did ask that. Did we not talk about that?
I can't remember. I can't remember what I had for my tea 2 hours ago. My brain today lately is mush.
You sound like me. It's like, I have a mind like a
if,
steel colander.
If it isn't in the calendar, it doesn't get done at the moment.
I set 2 alarms for this today because I was like, we can't. Oh, I got a lot going on.
It's better than I did. My phone was busy charging, so I didn't get the alarm.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, Claire, you're always sitting here ready, waiting for me when I get home from work, and I'm, like, fluttering around, throwing on a cravat, like, rushing, and you're like, I'm here, I'm waiting for you. And today, you were not here. I was like, what is going on? What is happening?
Fried brain cells from work mixed with clocks changing, and yeah. Sorry.
It's fine. I was just worried that you were dead in a ditch somewhere. So, have there been any updates on the animated series?
So I talked to and sort of looked over some of the pilot episode stuff like that. I think it's the whole pilot episode I got to see. And eventually, and they kept, this is so terrible because I should be like way more invested, but I'm just like not. I'm such a Northern Californian. If you are not familiar with California, we are an extremely bifurcated state, and the NorCalers we are in a warlike relationship with SoCal, and SoCal just doesn't know we exist. But we hate them. So I have an extremely strong, ingrained from birth suspicion of LA and Hollywood. And so I'm always kind of a little bit like, whatever, Hollywood. And in classic Hollywood fashion, they kept trying to get me to work on this, and I was like, actually, I don't have a creative credit, and I asked for that not to be included in the thing, and I have other things to write. Like, I have writing to do, and I'm not going to write your script for you. You have to pay me a lot of money to do that, way more than the option was. And so eventually I was just like, you guys have the option, like, do your thing. I'm sorry, I can't copy edit your stuff for you. So, and then I haven't heard a peep from them since, so I might have turned them off the whole thing.
Oh, no.
But
this is weird. Usually it's like, hang on, the creator wants us to have free reign.
Yes, I am the opposite of most authors in that, like, I'm entirely not precious about my stuff, because if somebody comes complaining to me, if and when something actually does get made, I'm just gonna say, read the books. That's why I wrote them. You want my vision, read the books. Like, you want an artist's vision, read the manga. That's what Rem went with. That's where they went with it. Like, that's something else entirely. I was not precious when those adaptations were happening. Like, I take the word adaptation seriously. Which why I love cosplay and I love fan art, because I'm like, it's somebody else's vision. It's fine. Yeah, I'm a real weirdo author about that. I'm not precious about it at all. I'll have sticking points where I'm just like, like, you can't whitewash my characters. You can't straight wash my characters. Like, apart from that, you can't skinny wash my characters. Apart from that, whatever. Go to. So yeah, so I pretty much was basically like, please stop bothering me. Like, tell me if something happens. Like, I don't need to be involved. And that's where we've left it.
So. I hope there's some kind of dramatic incident involving a fainting couch and then just like covering yourself with a blanket. It's like, no.
Oh no, I couldn't bear it. No, I pretty much was just like, look, I'm writing about aliens. I don't have time to think about this.
Writing about very sexy aliens right now. You'll have to excuse me.
I've got aliens on the brain. I can't think about Victorian London. Ugh. Yeah.
Oh,
that's delightful. See, we don't even know do you know what style it's in? Because
no, so the way we left it, that's the way we left it. Is we're at the point where I was like, all right, now they have to actually kind of. I'm assuming, I don't know how Hollywood works. I don't think Hollywood knows how Hollywood works. Are at the point where they need to drum up interest from a studio. I'm assuming, and I don't know if, like, for film, they need to have the talent on board before they drum up service interest, like streaming service interest, or if it doesn't work that way with animation. I can tell you that they've got an artist on board to do the, like, creative sample art, which I think is how they decide on the style. that it will be. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that one artist will actually be doing all of the animation, or if they sort of create the world building and the overview for it, and then I'm assuming a bunch of animators come in and like work with that part of it. And I love the artist they chose. I'm not going to say who it is, but I think everyone else will really love the artist that they chose as well. So, like, super on board with the artwork, not as super excited about the scripting, but who knows? And so voice talent, my only thing was like, you guys can involve me in that selection process if you'd like, but my only preference is that they be actually British. I don't think Americans can do a British accent, and you will never change my mind on that. So, like, please just pick an expat of some kind, and Hollywood is lousy with them. So, and actually, this animation studio has worked with Moira before, so Moira might come in and do a voice. I don't think she should do Alexia, but I would love to have her in there. I think that would be a really fun cookie for people. For those who don't know, Moira Quirk narrates both the Custard Protocol and the Finishing School series, and she's awesome. But she has a kind of youthful voice. She would make a great Dimity, for example, but and she does make a great Sophronia. But maybe she could do Ivy. She wouldn't be a bad Ivy. But anyway, but I only say that knowing they've worked with her. I don't know if they want to work with her before they would hire her. I would let them do. They can hire whoever they want to hire. Yeah. So that's...
Other than that, it's a fainting couch in a blanket.
Yeah. So that's where we are. And I haven't heard a peep from them in a while, but like honestly, that's what Hollywood is like. It's not unlike the publishing industry, which I have many times described as having a very poor fiber diet, in that everything is moving very quickly or not at all. So that seems to be what Hollywood is like also.
It's exciting that it's an animated series though, rather than live action as well, because it means that as a fan, I might be able to actually see my characters a bit more realistically.
Yes.
Not just making everybody so skinny.
Yes, and the world building and everything else as well. The animation has a lot of advantages over live action in that it is a lot less expensive to produce as immersive, if not more so, and complicated of a universe, because with live action, the CGI has gotten so expensive. You just get, especially with something like my stuff, there's CGI for both the steampunk aspects and the supernatural aspects, and then there's also location, and then there's also historical costuming and clothing, and all of that just keeps mounting up. It just gets really prohibitively expensive after a while. And so for me, I always thought animation was a wonderful direction to go in. And we are living in an age where it's not so weird to put adult animation out into the world. It used to be weird, but now it's sort of totally accepted. On the downside, a lot of the streaming platforms are freezing acquisition right now. So, and this was intended to be, either for network or for streaming, a series rather than a film release or something. So, who knows in that regard? Rather like the publishing industry right now, things seem a little chaotic down south. So I'm not sure what will be happening with it, but also when they don't want to use me for my skills, they don't really have any reason to actually talk to the author, and that is normal in both Hollywood and publishing. So I just do my own thing.
By you.
Yeah. Heaven forbid they talk to the author. That's fine.
I would really love to see if it were live action, I can imagine like the giant, huge, terrifying mechanical octopus destroying cities. Like, that would be so ridiculous.
So good. Yeah, and they do.
I don't want CGI. I want actually this to happen.
They do epic really well. I mean, this is the studio that did Castlevania.
Yeah.
Which I went and watched some of it, and I wasn't wild about the plot. I found it a little, video game-ish, banal.
Yeah.
But some of the animation was truly spectacular in that one. And this studio also does really stylistically focus in. So they're Adventure Time as well, and like Brie and Puppy Cat. And so they definitely like pick a cartoon look and then really stick to it stylistically for the show, which I also really appreciate. I'm like, I'm a long time old school comic book reader, and also manga. And one of the things I talk about and I kind of grieve the loss of in these days of webtoons in particular is artists having a real strong point of view. And so I like it if there's something very strong about the stylistic choice of an animated piece. So I am really excited about that aspect of this relationship in this particular studio, because they seem to be thoughtful about the art side of it, and I'm very driven by aesthetics. That's why I started writing steampunk in the first place, because I like the way it looks.
Oh, that's amazing. So
I feel like this links quite nicely into to more Lord Akildama, because you have a new book out.
I do, and I keep having to warn anybody who's like not like within the ecosystem of the newsletter, my newsletter, the Cheer Up, that it's not really a book. So it is not, Lord Akildama did not get his own story or anything like that. It's just me farting around, which I do on occasion, especially with my newsletter. Basically, over the last decade, Lord Akildama has hijacked my blog and taken and turned it into an advice column where he will give what amounts to extremely poor advice, really, to anybody who wants to ask him a question about anything. And so then I realized I had 10 years worth of these, and so I decided to just pull them all together, and I created them into a fun little booklet kind of concept. It's like an ephemera collective. So it's all of these Dear Lord Akeldamas arranged into like a fashion section and a life advice section and stuff like that. And then it's a bunch of sort of essays I've written about the interrelationship of like the supernatural and the steampunk world, and about, you know, kind of me reconciling the urban fantasy aspect of these books with the steampunk aspect, or the alt history aspect of the books. And then there's a bunch of deleted scenes from the Finishing School and the Custard Protocol and the Parasol Protectorate series, and a bunch of other sort of like fun little things that are just basically for people who love the Parasolverse. So that's all it is. It's just I just grappled it and stuck it all together in a little booklet for anybody who really wants to just be able to read it that way. And you cannot find, it's called Dear Lord Akeldama, and you cannot find it in places like Amazon, whatever. You can only find it from me on my website. So you have to come to my website to get it. And you get $2 off if you belong to the newsletter, or you can just buy it straight up if you like. And yeah, and there it is. Anybody can buy it anywhere in the world, digital only. I have considered a print edition, but it would be sort of complicated to put together some sort of. So for right now, it's just digital, and it's just directly from me. And that's intentional, because I didn't want to post it to, say, Amazon or Kobo or anything like that, because then people might buy it thinking it was a story and then be terribly disappointed. So I only wanted it available to people who I kind of had them focused on me, and I could explain that this wasn't really a story. So please don't get mad.
No, I've already started reading it. I got it a little. We got it a little bit early because Cheer Up, but yeah, it's so cute. I love how. I mean, I haven't read very much of it because I only just got it a couple of days ago because it only just came out. But
it did only just come out. Yes.
I like his knickerbockers.
He has very strong thoughts on everything. He's like the best advice column to write, because I'm like, he's such an easy voice for me to just immediately drop into as an author, and he always has a strong opinion, and I'm like, it's very easy for me to channel what he would feel in any given situation. So yeah, I actually have a store up of more questions for him. I just haven't been really focusing on the blog recently. I've been more focused on the newsletter, so he hasn't hijacked the blog in a while, but he may very well do it again. You never know.
Volume 2 in the works.
Yes, we just need more all the time.
So segue into in the works.
In the works.
We're not going to ask about a soap short. What's in the works? We're not going to ask about soap story, because everybody always asks about a soap story.
Everybody does.
We want a soap story. So,
I know you do.
That's off to one side. What about Monique?
Oh, Monique. Monique is definitely one of those. I do have, I mean, those of you who read How to Marry a Werewolf know that I do have a little urge at redemption. Like, I do like to take a character that everybody hates and make you all figure out that actually you're meant to love them and that they're really just broken and angry at the world and they need to be fixed, or that they can fix themselves. So I did that with Channing in How to Marry. And so there is a part of me that wants to give, and I did it with Prussia in Poison or Protect. So there's a part of me that wants to give it to Monique and Felix as well. Like, I kind of have always had them in the background as possible more delightfully deadly, but currently they're just little possibilities. So currently no specific plans for Monique, but definitely don't rule it out, because I seem to have this urge to fix them. I'm like a white knight for my own characters.
Well, at least she got to finish. At least she got to finish at the end of this series.
She did. So she's off and active and, and practicing. So she does fulfill the criteria of, being able to be to star in a delightfully deadly book. But like I've said before, I haven't had an epiphany. And so it's not going to get written until suddenly, she wakes me up in the middle of the night in a conversation with another character and I know exactly what's going to happen next. So.
I think we would argue she doesn't necessarily need to be redeemed.
Maybe she needs to be an anti-hero. I don't write anti-heroes very often. I do have a project that's sitting on the sidelines because it is an anti-hero, and Alessandro is the same struggle. Because I tend to get dark if I'm delving into an anti-hero, and I don't think people want dark from me, and then everybody loves Ambassador Adore. So I don't know. Like I said, anything's possible.
If you write it, we will read it.
We will read it, 100%. 2 sales, all you need. Just 2.
Oh, there's more than that. I can already hear Annie going, me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
3 sales.
3. At least 3.
At least 3. You did ask what's actually next, and what's actually next is a 3-book series. So that's written. It's rough draft out, which is why I'm talking about it. I don't talk about anything that I haven't finished actually writing, except in the chirp, because I never know what's going to happen to it when it finishes, and I never trust myself to finish anything, which I probably should at this juncture, because I have. I've finished a lot, but I still don't trust myself. So I don't like to talk about it because I feel like it's writing a check I can't cash. So I have a 3-book series. It's YA. It's a little on the more grown up end of YA, so sort of in the new adult range. So it could go either way. And it is a YA space opera series called The Tinkered Star Song, and it is basically the aliens are coming for us and they want our K-pop. It's about an alien race that's attempting to take over the universe with a high-powered entertainment system. So, and culture. I'm really interested in Hallyu and the way culture can be utilized as a soft power to disseminate feelings and emotions, including affection for another culture or an alien race. So that's what it is, and it's about a barista who's recruited and ends up joining basically a singing competition to win a place.
Oh, I love it! I can't wait.
So it's 3 books. The first one,
brilliant.
It's great. It's so fun, you guys. It's so much fun. So the first one is the competition, forming the group. The second one is being on tour, and in the third one, they get like embroiled in a galactic civil war kind of thing. And so that's the 3-book series. It's so much fun. It's all about celebrity and parasocial relationships, and the nature of the responsibility between fans and superstars, and sort of all this other kind of underground concept stuff that I like to needle on and chew in. But it's also like all about friendship and forming a group of really close friends and surviving together. So I'm very pleased with it, and it turns out my agent likes it more than I thought she would. So I kind of mentioned it to her, and she was like, "Oh, let's pitch it." And I was like, "Really?" Because YA space opera, not a large market. Let's just say, like, real small market, not good. Since the like Divergent, Hunger Games, dystopian craze, really not a lot of people read YA sci-fi. So I was like, "All right, agent." And so she's like, "I'll send you a list of editors." And I was like, "All right." And so she sent me this maybe shocking it was shocking to me. I'm not sure if it'll be shocking to anybody else, but it was 25 editors. And I literally was like, are there 25 editors left in New York publishing? I was like, this is shocking to me. So it has gone out, but I'm pretty sure it will not sell, just because the market isn't hungry for this kind of thing right now. It's very strong concept, but it's very weak on genre. So I expect it to come back, and 80% of me kind of wants that, because then I can just publish it myself. And I have really good ideas for cover art, and I'm really excited about it. So if it does come back, I'll put that one into production for next year. So and I'm probably gonna try and bring all 3 books out relatively close to each other. Just why not? Depending on how fast I can get them edited and everything. So that's my in-plot project, and then I'm writing a project for Nano right now.
Yay.
So I'm writing, yes, and that's in one of my existing series, but I'm not going to tell you what. The aforementioned, not going to write checks I can't cash. And yeah, and then but I am podcasting about it. So I do a Nano Gang podcast on the Everyday Novelist podcast. So I'm gonna shill another podcast on your podcast.
It's fine.
But because that's for writers rather than you guys for readers. So if there are writers out there, we talk about the craft of writing. It's me and a friend who are both pretty established authors, and so we'll also take craft questions if anybody's doing Nano and wants to ask about anything. So that's also going on right now. So I'm keeping busy, but you can find out everything about me on gailcarriger.com, and always like the true gossip and what's really going on is in the Chirp. It's in the newsletter. So
yes. Everybody needs to sign up to the Chirp, because like you say, everything is always there.
Very juicy.
Yes. Oh, that's so exciting. Well, thank you so much for joining us again. It's been too long. You'll have to come back sooner next time.
Of course. Yes, anytime. I'm always willing.
Yay. Yay.
Always excited.
Next time it'll be a space opera.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I love YA space books. Like,
do you really?
Oh, we adore sci-fi.
It's for me.
Yes.
It's for you.
Yes. We're always complaining that we don't have enough sci-fi.
Yes.
Now you know why. It's a really hard sell.
Oh, so good. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I'm so I can't tell you how excited I am about this story. And it was, well, I'll come on and talk about it when it's happening, but like it's the first time in my career. So in like 15 years, I got to write a whole series back to back. And I don't think we've ever really talked about this with the finishing school series, but there's a thing when you're writing for traditional under contract, which is the book gets published, which yay, but also you can't fix it. So you have to match the second book up with the first one, and you have to match the third one up with the ones that come before, because they're already published. Whereas this series, I could go back and tinker and do this like foreshadowing and seeding and dropping that I love to do, but really intentionally. So it's very tight. It's like a really, really tight 3-book series. And I'm super proud of it for that reason, because as a writer, it was just so exciting to essentially write the full arc of a solid, proper, like sci-fi series arc that really ties together. And like if I made a mistake in the first book and I realized it when I was writing the third one, I'd go back and fix it. Yay. So that was, yeah. So I am super proud of this series.
Oh, it's so exciting. We can't wait.
I can tell you're really excited for it as well, and it's just making us even more excited.
Yes. So exciting.
So thank you again for having me on, and let's not leave it so long next time.
No, definitely
no.
not.
Everybody needs to get signed up to the Chirp so you can see when the space opera series comes out.
Oh, the cover art I have in mind is so good.
Oh yeah, we can't wait. All right, well, thank you. We'll let you go now. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. So that's it for this bonus episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
And I'm on the floor in a big puddle. Sorry, I'm Claire.
Join us next time as we discuss The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Look out for our Would You Rather polls on social media. Don't forget about our book club and monthly challenges on Facebook. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover themed merchandise, and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.
You can find us at fictionalhangover.com, follow us on Instagram at Fictional Hangover, find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fictionalhangover, and on Twitter at Fictional Hangover, no ER. If you like this episode, check out our others, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe so you don't miss out. And finally, special thanks to Liz Emerson for her music. You can find her on Facebook and Patreon. Thanks for listening.